11 years ago when I was 19, and I never returned. When I came here, people told me Bulgarians is like all mafia, criminals, and racist. Oh, you didn't get the email? And I was like, what email? He's like, oh, our unit is going to Afghanistan in like 3 months because I have to, you know, fight for the country and, you know, potentially die or even worse, be disabled. Usually it takes like 6 years to make the rank of sergeant, and I did it in 2.5 years. And
was the pay good, by the way? I never been to US, although I have many friends who live there. I talk to them on the regular, and most of them are not feeling too good about the current situation.
And my first impressions was like, this is amazing. Like the weather was nice at the time when we came during the summertime. I saw the 10% corporate tax. Things were really cheap. The people were super friendly. They were always waving, smiling at me.
Yeah.
When I went to go pick up my diploma at school, I guess it's called the superintendent of my school. He was like, "You're going to Bulgaria?" And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Good luck, buddy."
What's the general American view of Bulgaria?
First of all, they created a fugazi system called fiat, and then they convinced everybody in the world that their fiat was more valuable than other people's fiat. And it made it hard for Africans to be part of the financial system. Like it's 25 to 30% interest to get a loan. But they created this fake system, put in then slave puppets in power when they left.
How much of your total net worth and portfolio is in crypto right now?
80%.
80%?
Yeah.
I was wondering what's probably your go-to advice for this bull market, and what are you expecting specifically? You know, crypto saved my life, I have to be honest.
Same, man.
Здравейте, приятели! Последните няколко дни пазара е доста скучен и безинтересен, затова реших вместо да правя видео, всъщност да ви пусна един разговор, който имах с един американец на име Ванрос Идаке, който се оказа изключително интересен човек. Той е роден в Африка, но е израснал в САЩ. Там му е и семейство, но е решил да избяга оттам и всъщност да дойде да живее в България, да създаде бизнес. Той е всъщност CEO на неговата Venture Capital фирма, по-известна като Moonboy Capital. Издал е книга и всъщност се занимава както с криптовалути, така и с инвестиране в недвижими имоти. Човекът е изключително забавен и интересен, имаха много готин разговор и всъщност дори станахме приятели. Затова, без да губим повече време, насладете се на следващия разговор.
Who the heck are you, bro? Who do I have here? Oh shit.
It's Moonboy. Moonboy, man.
Thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, thank you, man. It's a pleasure, you know. Like I said, the more of us that there are that are creating content, getting the information out to the public, the better, man.
Yeah.
The better.
It was really weird and nice meeting you back in at the events of the association, and I was really thrilled to, you know, get to know you. And an American born in Africa, living in Bulgaria, that's weird enough, but what you're doing is even more crazy. So can you tell about yourself and how did you come up here?
Yeah, man, it depends on how far you want to go back. You want to go back?
Let's go back.
So, you know, we could start with, you know, me being born. So I was born in Nigeria, and then I came over to the United States when I was 4 years old. And, you know, the U.S., you know, it was a very hard place for me to live, you know, to be completely honest with you, because I was kind of in the middle where, like, I didn't really fully relate to, like, Africans in America, and I didn't relate to then African Americans. Mm-hmm. So, because it's two different separate things. It's because
they're very different people, right?
Completely different, bro. Yeah. Like, it's I would say Africans they have a different sense of culture, and they kind of know where they came from, you know, originally. Whereas, you know, if you look at African Americans, their last names were taken from them. They're like all rocking like slave last names, like Williams and Johnson. Like, it's not their last name, you know, it's given to them by like slave masters. Yeah. So eradication of their previous history is gone, like completely. You know, so they have no idea like where they initially came from, like their origins. So they created a new culture, you know, driven by, you know, hip hop and all these different types of, you know, slangs and these different types of.
So they turned out to be a completely different people.
Exactly, man. And so, knowing this and seeing how things were, I always knew that I wanted to leave the United States because, you know, the propaganda there is so bad. Like the advertisements that they talk about Bulgaria, talk about Africa, talk about anywhere, it's so bad. Like they make it seem like these countries are unlivable and the people there are just uncivilized.
Yeah.
And
is that what they think?
Yeah, this is what a lot of them think. It's changing, of course, now because of the age of information and you know.
You know what I've heard that's kind of really aggravating me. It's that when in Western Europe they hear the word Bulgarian, they imagine the gypsies that live here. And, you know, I don't hate, I'm not racist by any means because Bulgaria was oppressed for 500 years. We were slaves ourselves.
Yes.
But it kind of makes me angry because this is not who really we are. And most of Western civilization, they don't really know who we are.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I think that's also part of the reason, another reason why I connect with Bulgarians is because you guys were also colonized, which is what I didn't realize. And also, I don't know if I heard, but I don't know if this is true or not. Maybe you could confirm that some of the Jews that fled during the Holocaust fled to Bulgaria, and the president was the only one that like stood up and said, "We're not going to give them back to Adolf."
Yeah.
And I think that's speaks a lot about the mindsets and the cultures here, specifically, where it's just really anti-slavery, which is great. Whereas you know the West is all about slavery. I mean, you've seen how much they've colonized and everything that they've done and pillaged these countries. But yeah, this is basically why I was so adamant about leaving the United States. Like I was.
When did you leave?
I left 11 years ago when I was 19, and I never returned. You know, I come back for vacation, obviously, or to
have
visit
family there still?
Yeah, just to visit family.
And just FYI, you were raised in Atlanta, Georgia?
Yeah, I grew up in Atlanta, which was another crazy location. You know,
now it's infamous for its rappers. For the rapper scene, but. I don't know how the life was there.
It was exactly that. You know, growing up, I grew up during the trap era.
Yeah.
And so I got to see the entire, because, you know, it came from Atlanta.
Damn.
And so I grew up like really, I have really good taste for music. So I grew up around Afrobeat and around trap music before it was popular. You know, before people actually popularized it and became global. And I never thought with trap music that the world would actually adopt it, because I was like, they're never gonna understand. Because I was growing up when T.I. and Jeezy and Gucci were first. This is like early 2000s. This is like 2001, 2002, 2003.
Wow.
Early, you know, before that was Outkast.
It was on a local level back then?
Yeah, it was super local. And then Gucci Mane found Migos, and then Migos took it to another level. This is like in 2010, 2011, along with Future.
Yeah, that's when I started to listen to.
Exactly.
And I started vibing hard. I mean, like, my whole personality was based on these people for, like, the longest time.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of embarrassing to even tell it, but it's true.
No, but I mean, it's for me, it's amazing to see how far the culture, like, it was able to get and reach this many people. Because I was shocked when I came to Bulgaria. So many Bulgarian guys, because when I came here, people told me Bulgarians is like all mafia, criminals, and racist. This is what I was told when I came here. So
why did you come anyway?
Because I never listened to anybody.
Yeah.
I always have to get on the ground and see it for what it actually is, and to make my own interpretation of it, because I know most people just regurgitate what they hear from the media because they're sheep. You know, at the end of the day, they can't think on their own. And they don't understand how these countries actually operate because they've never actually been to these countries. Yeah. So it was the same for me. Like when I would travel back to Africa, like when I just recently went to Rwanda, and I was told only about the genocide that happened in the 90s. And I went there. It was really, really peaceful. The infrastructure was like better than a lot of the areas in the world. Like it's competitive with the West.
Yeah.
The roads super clean. The entire streets, no trash. And I was asking my friend, like, why there's no trash on the streets, like, ever. And he said every last Saturday, every month, they do a national cleaning. And they all have to go outside and clean. And they have an area beautification manager that, like, tracks them and sends the information to the government.
Yeah. What's the population of Rwanda? Because I know Nigeria is a very populated place, one of the most populated countries, actually.
Yeah.
And I don't think the GDP is of the highest.
No, it's not. It's in Rwanda. It's much smaller. I think like 10 to 15 million, something like that.
Is it close to Nigeria?
No, Rwanda is like, it's more on the eastern side. It's like bordering like Uganda and Democratic Republic of Congo.
Okay.
So it's like around there.
Yeah.
And yeah, so they're very much very developed. There is a middle class. I was really shocked, honestly, when I went there, because I was like, didn't even notice that it was Africa. You know, it was just,
Nice.
yeah, it was really safe. I saw foreigners like running late night jogs at like 9-10 p.m. with headphones in. So a really safe environment, and everything that I've been told my entire life has just been wrong, including money, you know. So
Yeah.
which we're gonna get into too as well, you know.
We're about to get into it because
Yeah.
I think for our, how do I say it? We're millennials, right? You're the
Yes.
same age I am, 31.
31,
right?
yeah.
So what's is specific for us is that the system was kind of broken way back in the days,
Yeah.
and we are now reaping the failures.
Yes.
If I can say it like that.
Absolutely.
But let's start from the beginning. When did you realize there was something wrong, and how come did you come to start a finance company, a business here,
Yeah.
and all that?
Okay, so I would say, I got to trace it all the way back to when I was about 25 is when I really started to take like investing seriously, because I started learning a little bit about inflation. I didn't fully understand it at the time, but I knew like, hey, if I invest my money, I can make more money passively. And that was the entire idea, was like to make my money work for me. So I got into stocks and ETFs, and then I was infamously known for liquidating my entire ETF portfolio and putting it onto Tesla super early.
Nice.
And yeah,
What
so
do you mean by early?
around $70.
$70?
Yeah, when it was $70 before they did the stocks and the shares. You know, I forgot the terminology for it now, but you know, when they add more, repurpose the shares, you know, and then make the price go down because they added more
And
shares.
what's the new price came to be $7 or something?
I think the new price now,
Because right now it's around 100 and
yeah,
something.
100 and something right now, but it got up to 1,000. You know,
Yeah.
1,200. That was around the time when I sold.
Yeah.
Um,
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, man, yeah. So I was learning about like assets and liabilities and EBITDA and trying to read financial reports. And yeah, and then one day my exchange ended up, it basically implemented this thing called Bitcoin. And I'm way too curious of a person because I'd heard about Bitcoin previously, but I didn't really know what it was. And I was like, is there a CEO? Like, I didn't really get it. I didn't fully understand it, but I just went straight to Google because all the information's on our phone.
Yeah.
And I just Googled it, and I was like, decentralized money. What is decentralization? You know, and I didn't fully get it. So then I started going down the rabbit hole, and then I read the Bitcoin white paper, and then I had to read it like several times to fully understand it. And this is while I'm also, at the time, this is at the beginning stage of COVID. And at the time, I'm also writing a book simultaneously. And because I was trying to attack different societal constructs from angles and viewpoints that people weren't looking at. And I titled this book it's called Hey Bro, I'm Just Trolling.
Yeah,
And,
I saw that it was on your website.
Yeah,
What
exactly.
is it about?
And so basically, I'm trying to attack different societal constructs because I saw that a lot of people weren't looking at things from the right angle. So I was like, maybe if I can write a book in a way it would wake people up, but not trying to antagonize them in that type of way, or try to sort of be too patronizing. You know, I didn't want to be patronizing.
Yeah.
I wanted to try to make it in a more lighthearted but not really lighthearted fashion. So that's why it's called Hey Bro, I'm Just Trolling. And then you kind of decide as a reader if I am trolling, if I'm not trolling. And so for instance, you might open up one construct and it's about technology, and it's written in scenarios, and you maybe open up another constructs about beauty, and I'm attacking beauty maybe in a poem. And so each construct is written completely different to keep the reader engaged and to attack these sort of constructs like war, because I also am a war veteran too as well. So I was in the U.S. Army.
Yeah, that's a really interesting part actually, because you finished high school and then you went immediately into military?
Not immediately. I actually was playing college basketball for a little bit before I lost my scholarship at Gordon State College. And this is near Atlanta. It's like in Barnesville. It's in Georgia, the state.
Okay.
And I lost my scholarship. Then my friend was telling me about the Army, and I really wanted to get overseas. So I thought I could play basketball to get overseas, But then I lost my scholarship, and you know how it works in the States when you lose your scholarship. It's like, damn, you have two choices: either be a debt slave, or you just start trying to find a 9-to-5 job to work, you know, to maybe save up, maybe to start going to school simultaneously. It's really hard, you know. And so my friend was telling me about another option, about joining the Army and how we could travel, you know, with the Army, and then, you know, you could sign that and put that in your contract. And that's how I landed outside of the U.S. in Germany. And I ended up immediately from Germany going to war. And it's actually funny how it happened, because they told me when I signed the contract, like, oh, like, you're not going to have to worry about war. You're going to play on the Army basketball team, et cetera, et cetera. So I get done with basic training and advanced individual training. And then I land in Grafenwehr, Germany, and we have orientation. So then my sergeant comes to come pick me up. And he's like, yo, man, what's up, man? Like, you ready? And I was like, yeah, man, I'm so excited. I'm in Germany. You know, I can't wait to go out on the weekend and see how it is. And he was like, no, I'm talking about, like, Afghanistan. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, oh, you didn't get the email? And I was like, what email? He's like, oh, our unit is going to Afghanistan in like 3 months. And I was like, what? And I was like, okay, I'll see you guys when you guys get back.
And how did that make you feel, man?
Man, dude, it was, my heart was just pounding like crazy. And, you know, you got to think I'm 19. No, I just turned 20. Like I landed 19, then turned 20. So I was super young. I couldn't even grow facial hair at the time.
Yeah. Didn't you feel like, oh shit, I'm about to die?
Yeah, I did, bro. And yeah, it was one of the most hardest like moments in my life, you know, because I didn't know what was gonna happen after. So I thought, okay, these next 3 months I'm gonna try to live it up the best way I possibly can, because I have to, you know, fight for the country and, you know, potentially die, or even worse, be disabled. You know, that's even worse. I'd rather die than come back with no arm or no leg, you know. And yeah, it was a very, very tough time for me. And, you know, I think I learned a lot, and I'm so appreciative of life after I got out of that situation, because we were there for 9 months. And
What happens?
It was tough, man. It was it's something I usually don't really speak about, you know, but it was very, very tough, man. It was tough. Like, just imagine, I'm 20 years old, and, you know, you're in a situation where it's literally life or death, man, you know. And
every day.
Yeah, every single day. And, you know, it was hard to sleep. Yeah, you just, all you could think about was dreaming. I remember just dreaming all the time about life on the outside, you know. And
you feel like a prisoner almost.
Yeah, you know. And but I knew what I signed up for. I knew that I was prepared for that, because I was okay taking risk, because I knew that was the only way that I would be able to advance myself throughout my life. And I was like, especially in the United States, how it's set up, it's not really set up for minorities. You know, it's not, the United States is really, it's set up in a way, like if it break down after the civil rights, you know, movement and everything, you know, Martin Luther King and everything, yeah, you know, we were seen as equal, but who owns all the infrastructure? You know, so how do you get a job? And what happens if you can't get a job? Well, you go then to the black market and try to figure out something. And then what happens if you try to figure out something? You end up going into jail. And then it starts a cyclical rotation of dads in jail, no leadership. Then they ended up putting us in these locations called hoods, or, you know, poverty-stricken locations. And then they don't fund these areas, right, with government funding. So then what ends up happening is all the good people leave. The asset prices go down. The people who can afford assets buy those assets, and then they gentrify those areas. You know, and it's called like this form of redlining, and all these different, there's so much nuance. It's harder to get a business loan.
Yeah, I've read, I'm sorry to interrupt, I've read all about this, because I watch, like, I don't know if you're familiar with this guy, Johnny Harris, on YouTube, and he talks about a lot of social problems in America, and I know all about the structure, but I don't seem to get what really was the point to keep all these people poor and in very bad position, because this destabilizes your country. And, you know, it doesn't make it good in any ways. One of the theories is that it's the other bloc, the Eastern bloc, trying to answer the Western countries, because right now what's happening in Europe is a lot of immigrants from Middle East and Asia and whatnot, from the Arabic countries come here, and the guys, the people are getting distributed, and Europe is getting flooded with people. And what this leads to is to destabilization of the countries and bringing morale down. And it's sort of a war, to be honest, because there's a lot of different wars. There's a hot war, a technological war, a financial war, and whatnot. There are like 5 of them, and that's just one of them. But how did you really feel about this, and how did you find out specifically all this information? Because most of people don't, right?
I think with me, I always surrounded myself, well, I don't want to say always. I started surrounding myself with people that thought like me the more I kept progressing, or people that were farther ahead, because I realized that to get to where I wanted to be, in not just on a financial state where I'm at, but also at a mental state and at a personal development state, I had to remove myself from, and it was a tough thing to do because I had really good friends, but they weren't trying to evolve in the same way. And I would tell them certain things like, hey, back in like 2020, 2021, I was like really preaching about the CBDC and the dangers of it, you know, and I was trying to tell friends. No one really cared. No one really believed me. I was trying to tell people about, you know, the refugee situation, what happened with, you know, the sickness, and how I kind of felt about that, and how it separated the wealth structuring currently that we have today, where you see the inflation is just getting even worse, and the people who own assets just keep getting more richer, and the separation's getting more abundant and more clear to what is actually going on. I don't think there's much time left. I truly believe, like, I was actually writing a blog, which I had to stop, called The Great Squeeze. And I was basically breaking down, which I'm going to be integrating into my Web3 Academy that I'm building for Africans and diasporans, which I just launched the marketing for that. So we have almost 200 signups in like 8 days. And so that's another thing I'll talk about a little bit later. But I was basically constructing this huge data set called The Great Squeeze, breaking down what's happening with the financial economy and trying to showcase to people that there's not much time left, that they're going to continue to print money, because there is a breaking point of where they can barely pay off the interest on the debt. And most countries are completely broke. And so that's why they're trying to do capital controls to control the money so that they can manage the debt better. And a lot of them are borrowing debt to pay off debt, you know, and it's a complete, to be quite frank, shit show, you know, currently right now. And so I think, to sum up what you asked, I would always surround myself with people, like all my friends are either like-minded or they're at a different stage than me. They're highly successful entrepreneurs as well. And I only hang around these type of people because if you want to become something, then why would you not surround yourself with those people that you're trying to become?
Yeah, that's so amazing to hear. Actually, myself in 2012, I think, that's when I started to really dabble into self-development. And at some point, I was listening to audiobooks. I'm not a reader necessarily. I love to write. I write a lot of my scripts myself. I have thousands of pages written for all my videos, but I love to listen. And in the span of 5 years, I listened to like 500 audiobooks, all on finance and personal development and whatnot. And this really changed my life. And who you surround yourself with is the most important thing. And I want to know who you surround yourself with now. But let's rewind a little bit, because you said you were in the military, right?
Yeah.
What's the rank were you?
Yeah, so I got up to sergeant in 2 years, which is quite high. Usually it takes like 6 years to make the rank of sergeant. And I did it in 2.5 years. And so there was a lot of jealousy too, you know, like, because I was so young and people didn't think like, oh, like, this guy is so young, how is he already a sergeant? Yeah. They didn't believe that I hadn't spent enough time to become that. And that was also another hard thing that I had to face. Also, I became a sergeant, where how it works in the military is you have these sort of, obviously the ranking structures, and you have a squad. And within this squad, I was in this squad as like a rank 4, which is like a specialist before you become a sergeant, which is the rank 5. And all my friends, now I was in charge of them once I became a sergeant. They may be in charge of that same squad.
Is this still valid, your rank? If you decide to come back?
If you decide to come back, I think it depends on the duration that you were gone. They may de-rank you by one, potentially, depends. Because I haven't looked into it, but it's very, very vague because, you know, I got out of the military in 2017. And, but yeah, you know, it's a managerial position as it would be in translated in civilian terms.
All right, so you came back from Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And what year?
This is 2014. This is May 2014.
You come back to USA?
No. So I joined the military to go to Germany, to then find out that I'm going to Afghanistan, to then continue my term in Germany, which is like another duty station that was available. It's in Grafenwehr. It's actually where Hitler used to train his army. You know, it was another location where Hitler used to train his army. And so I was there for another 9 months after. And then I went to Fort Hood in Texas to finish up my contract, and then immediately back overseas. Immediately.
Was the pay good, by the way?
I would say
Are you allowed to say it?
the pay is fair because they pay you, let's say, depends. No, not in bulk. It depends on your rank, and there's a lot of nuance. So they pay for everything. So food is free. Housing is free, and medical.
You don't have where to spend your money, so.
Exactly, and say like the lower ranks are making like $2,000 a month, so they're pocketing that money, you know, every single month, because unless you're paying like maybe a car bill, that's maybe the only bill you would really have. You can basically, they pay for everything, and if you make a higher rank, you move out of this thing called a barracks or a dorm, like a college dorm would be like. So it's like we call it the barracks, and you would move out or have the permission to move out, and then they would accommodate you for the move out cost. So again, you wouldn't be paying for it. So say the cost of living or the average cost for, let's say, rent in that area is like $1,000 per month. They would pay that on top of your salary every month as accommodation. So this is like basically how they kind of, and the higher rank you make, a lot more you're able to make. And then also every time that you leave your duty station, like for instance, when you're in Afghanistan, you get hazardous duty pay on top. So that can be an extra $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 on top, and you can't spend money in Afghanistan. So you're pocketing that. So I would say it's a very great savings vehicle, I would say.
I guess it's a really good idea to spend your money outside of USA, since everywhere else it's pretty much cheaper. Like not Germany necessarily, but Bulgaria for sure. But like, isn't USA the lands of the unlimited opportunities? And why look elsewhere?
So it's funny because, the U.S., first of all, one thing I would say is the U.S. has one of the worst quality of life that there is. The food, how they produce it, it's terrible for your body. It's hard to find good food, and when you do find good quality food, it's expensive. The rent is quite high. You have to pay for your medical. People are scared to like, you know, get sick or sneeze because like, damn, I got to go to the doctor, pay like $3,000, $4,000 for a checkup.
I think that's absurd.
So a lot of people are living to work. You know, all they do is work. You know, that their whole life revolves around work, and it's like the average people are working is usually 50 to 60 hours a week. So they don't spend any time with their friends, their family. So you're trading your limited time in the U.S. for an unlimited supply of money, and you keep having to chase more and more of that money every single year because, as you know, they're printing money like crazy and stealing wealth from people every year.
Honestly, that's what I love about Europe, because I've traveled through many of the countries, and here is the culture of taking a rest, taking a break, enjoying the day, talking to friends, gathering together, because people here are very family oriented, and that's something I really love. And I never been to US, although I have many friends who live there. I talk to them on the regular, and most of them are not feeling too good about the current situation. And it's kind of concerning, but still in some ways it's a lot of people can say it's a lot better than here, depending on how you see it. But I could never imagine leaving my own country. And when you came to Bulgaria, what were your first impressions from here? And
okay, so it's very interesting because I graduated uni I think it was 2020.
Which uni? Here?
It was a Schiller International University in Germany. And the only reason I went to uni, I think most of school, if you're not in STEM, I don't see the point in going to school. The only reason I went was because it was part of our agreement with the Army that they would pay for my school anywhere around the world, and they would pay me a salary on top. So I thought, why not leverage this, to go anywhere around the world and to, kickstart my entrepreneurship, journey. And so I ended up doing Germany because it was the middle and the center kind of Europe, and you can easily travel to different locations quicker. And so this is why I chose Germany. And so when I graduated and I told people that I was going to, Bulgaria, this is 2020, I think it's, when did I graduate? Oh, so I graduated, then COVID happened. So then I had to work or I had to leave the country. So I was working as a manager for like a year and a half, 2 years. I switched 2 different managerial roles. I was working at Hollister, then I was working at Peloton. In the meantime, I was building Moonboy.
Okay. That's 2020?
This is 2021 to 2022.
And you're still living in Germany?
No. During that time, yes. You're talking about now? No.
No,
Yeah.
not now.
Yeah, that time, yeah. I was living.
How was the coming to Bulgaria?
So I was actually going to go to Portugal. So it's a very interesting story. So actually, I just already got approved for my visa. I applied for it and everything. I went through a lawyer.
Do you need one?
For long-term stay, yes. If you want to stay long-term, but as a short-term, I can go visit, tourist visa, 90 days, no problem. But long-term, like I wanted to stay long-term, so I had to get a lawyer so they could apply for my long-term stay in Portugal, so I could live there and not have to worry about like keep having to renew and stuff, and or do the 90 days and then go to another country and then come back. I didn't want to do that. And then I was texting my friend, and I was telling him, dude, I'm about to go to Portugal, and he's like, yo, I'm thinking about going to Bulgaria to, tax optimize, because he was in Italy.
Yeah.
And as you know, Italy is not one of the best places for entrepreneurship in terms of tax optimization.
Portugal is pretty much still the best, I think.
Yeah, Portugal is really, really good. And so just before I left, he was like, yo, just come check out Bulgaria with me and just come to see it. And I was like, where's Bulgaria? What is that? Like I never even heard of Bulgaria before. Yeah. So, but for me, I'm super curious. So I was like, oh, it has a beach. Oh, it looks nice. Oh, 10% corporate tax. That's not bad. Yeah. And so I flew there, and my first impressions was like, this is amazing. Like the weather was nice at the time when we came during the summertime. I saw the 10% corporate tax. Things were really cheap. The people were super friendly. They're always waving, smiling at me. Yeah. And actually, I'll tell you a quick story. When I went to go work out at an outside gym, and so I finished one of my workout sets, and I was like texting on my phone, and this random Bulgarian kid ran up to me and just hugged my leg, and I was just like, wow, like I was so like really, really welcomed, a lot in this country, and I was like, I thought this was supposed to be the racist country. And it was funny because my when I went to go pick up my diploma at school, I guess it's called the superintendent of my school. He was like, "You're going to Bulgaria?" And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Good luck, buddy." Like it's one of the worst places in the world. You're just like, yeah.
And how does he know?
Exactly. How does he know? He just knows what he's seen maybe on the media, and he's probably thinking from a 9-to-5 perspective.
What's the quick interruption? What's the general American view of Bulgaria?
First of all, a lot of Americans don't know anything about Bulgaria, and if they do, they think it's like part of like Russia, or it's like with Ukraine and Russia, and they think like, I remember my brother hit me up the other day and asked me if I'm okay because of the war, and it's on that side, Yeah. But they don't really know where the position. I didn't even know where it was at. I knew it was somewhere in eastern side, but I had to Google it and look, and then
because that's what the weird thing about you guys, that you don't really study geography outside of US.
Yes.
And me, even in like 5th grade, I knew every single country in the world, every single capital. I knew how to walk to there. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And it's not something to be proud of necessarily, because when you are the big empire, you don't have to know anything. Right?
Exactly.
But I find it fascinating. I love exploring countries and know more about them.
Yeah, and me too. I had this curiosity for other countries that no one in my family could really understand why. And I just never believed what I was told, because I was like, a lot of the times when you start doing more research, and thankfully we grew up in the age of information technology where we have accessible information online. And you start realizing more and more that, you know, everything that you're told is just part of its marketing, even down to fiat, right? Fiat is just marketing and branding and positioning. And so because it doesn't have any value at all. And if you look at what, you know, like what happened in Africa post-colonialism, all they did was trick, you know, everyone in Africa that, they created a Fugazi system called fiat, and then they convinced everybody in the world that their fiat was more valuable than other people's fiat. And it made it hard for Africans to be part of the financial system. Like it's 25 to 30% interest to get a loan, you know, if you're a country or a business in Africa, you know.
Damn, is that in general?
Yeah, in general, in most of the areas, it's even more sometimes, you know, depending on. That's why China came in smartly and offered Africans cheap debt, which again, it's all fake, because the people who truly have all the riches are Africans, because they have the natural resources. But they created this fake system, put in then slave puppets in power when they left. Like if you look at what happened with the Francophone countries like Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, they were all paying taxes to France. Right?
And that was until very recently. Until 80 something.
No, until actually now it's Burkina Faso just now rebelled against France, and Niger and Mali and Senegal, Chad, they're all rebelling now against the West, because my generation is starting to realize that they were just, the reason that Africa hadn't developed the way it could have was because they had slave puppets still in the positions of leadership, and had political nepotism, you know, to control it. And so they planted like military coups. If you look at Burkina Faso, they had a military coup, and they had the youngest president now in the world. He just turned 35 now.
Nice.
And with fresher in mind, with actually trying to help the people instead of trying to appease the West. And again, with this Fugazi system of fiat, which it's actually not valuable at all, because what's valuable is actually relationships.
Also the work and the time. That's the true value. And I think it's really unfortunate what happens with African countries, because this went on for centuries, essentially.
Still goes on.
And it's still going on. And it's very hard to get out from the claws of these puppet masters. And I don't know what's going to happen, but the system is going to collapse at some point.
Oh, for sure.
And probably it's not going to end well.
It's not. And, you know, this ties into, because you were saying, because we talked a little bit before, you were saying that you don't think that crypto could be a hedge against this current system, especially specifically Bitcoin. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on like how you view the future looking, and what do you think if Bitcoin isn't the answer, or if crypto in general isn't the answer, what do you see happening as that new form of medium of exchange?
Yeah, I actually am preparing what I think my best video so far, with the most information about the whole economic situation from 100 years ago until this very day. And I'm going to summarize it in like 2 or 3 sentences. But essentially what's going on is that we right now, since 2008, and since the inception of Bitcoin, live in a secular bull market, which is a technological revolution. We had the secular bear market with the financial crisis. We had another secular bull market, which was capitalism, starting from 72, I think, when the dollar depegged from the gold. And I'm not sure if it's going to happen, and I have a lot of friends who think likewise. But I think crypto is going to be very good until the very tippy top of the economic structure, which right now we live in the fifth wave of the whole economic cycle. And at this very last moment, it's the most volatile, it's the most uncertain. And I think the moments of truth would probably be the invention of AGI, which is probably either going to collapse everything or going to make everything explode and start a new paradigm. And probably the next paradigm is going to be a new space race, like it happened back when the Cold War was happening with Russia and USA. And it's going to happen all over again. And the market rhymes again. And it's very weird. And I've been saying it for the longest time that we probably do live in some sort of simulation.
Yeah, it's very interesting, man. Like, it's good to hear different perspectives. I always tell for my clients and you know, the people at Moonboy, I tell them all the time that you got to diversify, and you shouldn't be all into you know, one, let's say, crypto asset or just one investment vehicle. You know, you should try to maybe get into some land, maybe get into some real estate, maybe get into some stocks, maybe get into some gold, maybe get into some crypto. You know, whatever that is for you and you're comfortable with, because it's very uncertain, you know, to see what's happening. Even me, I'm diversifying my portfolio now, looking to outsource and invest, you know, more into Africa, and looking to other different investment vehicles, you know, to diversify. But I would say that, in my opinion, I think that you know, crypto is the best option that we have right now to get some semblance of freedom, because the capital controls are here and they're continuing to happen. Even for me, it's hard to move $5,000 out of my US account.
Yeah, it's still.
Yeah, bro, it's crazy. Like for me, what I had to do is I had to send the money, because they kept asking me all these questions and telling me, oh, you gotta, why are you sending money? All these questions just because I want to move $5,000, small amount of money. So I had to send the money to my dad, and then my dad had to then send it to me.
Yeah.
And these types of things, if you look at Canada, it's very hard to move $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 out. You know, in the EU, they're trying to regulate it to where I think it's $1,000 or less. They're going to make it very hard to be moving around.
I think Canada is good, man.
Yeah?
Yeah, because they have it way worse than USA right now. But that's probably a topic for a whole nother conversation. I really want to dabble into crypto. First of all, how much of your total net worth and portfolio is in crypto right now?
80%.
80%?
Yeah.
And the other 20? And stocks?
Right now I'm diversifying into land.
Land?
Yeah.
Are you buying here?
No. I was thinking about it, but actually I'm going to start actually in Africa.
And in Nigeria, or?
I'm looking at Nigeria, Ghana, Togo, Benin, Ivory Coast.
And how secure is that if some sort of revolution happens in that place, you won't lose your land? Or
I mean,
is that a dumb question?
It's like one of those questions where it's like, how secure is anything when a revolution happens, you know? I mean, when revolutions happen, it's all about just being smart. Like what I plan to do is I recommended other people to think about this too as well, is to build a autonomous home. So solar panels, borehole, a garden, built around a wall.
Try to be sustainable.
Yes, and be as sustainable as possible, because in the case of an event that something like that were to happen, well, you got to make the wall impenetrable, and if they are able to get through the wall, then you're the final boss.
Yeah.
You know?
What is consisting in your portfolio? Like, what do you have?
Well, I would say, but the majority of it is in Bitcoin. I would say like 50 to 60% is in Bitcoin, and the other 20% is in altcoins currently right now, and then the rest is cash. But that cash is going to get disseminated into land here shortly. Yeah. So this is kind of how I'm positioning myself now, because I still have some excess cash that I want to deploy, because it's going to be worthless tomorrow and the next day and the next day as they continue to print money. Yeah. So that's how I'm kind of positioning it. Everybody's different, because their risk tolerance are different, their level of understanding is different, and what they plan to achieve is different. So like when I'm dealing with clients specifically at Moonboy, like I always try to tell them, what are your goals? What do you plan to achieve? Do you want to make a 5x in the next year? Is your goal to just preserve your wealth? Is your goal to cash flow and generate cash? Like, what are your goals? Because based off of your goals, then I can point you in the right direction on how I think you should structure your portfolio or your net worth, and what percentage of your net worth do you want to use for risk capital? What do you want to use for leverage trading, or for, what is it how do you want to position it? Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't ask those questions, when they're building out their net worth or their portfolios.
I find it kind of intriguing that you have a VC company, like the Moonboy Capital. Like, how did all that come to fruition? Yeah, so... What's that, by the way? Like, can you explain for our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So back in 2021, I got into VC and capital raising. So I started getting into as an LP for multiple different VCs. And basically we invest in early stage projects before they launch. And through that, it evolved into, okay, now I'm able to help other people get fundraising, because now I understand pitch deck analysis. I understand the financials of what the VCs are looking for, and I work with one of my partners to be able to help bring that to light. So to help projects keep pushing the space forward, because we need new projects to help pushing the space forward. So you come to me, and basically I'm able to then help you to then raise funds. And so basically this is what we're trying to build, is trying to build a fundraising mechanism for, you know, entrepreneurs who are thinking about, you know, raising capital. They have a really good idea, but they just need the upfront capital. And then we connect you with our networks to be able to disseminate that. I think currently right now I'm in 3 different venture capital groups as a liquidity provider, and we invest in early stage projects before they launch.
This is this considered TradFi?
No, it's only Web3 projects.
But are these capitals in crypto already, or they get transformed?
They're in crypto. So they only take, because, you know, VCs in crypto, they like to liquidate quicker, you know, and, you know, in equity raising, it's it's illiquid, right? And it's slower to liquidate. You need to usually wait till the next round is raised to liquidate, if you want to liquidate. And so you're looking more at a longer time horizon of like 5 to 10 years, which is normal.
Which is normal, but in crypto it's too much.
Yeah, exactly.
In crypto, like 3 months is a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, and actually currently right now, what I'm also building too as well is this Web3 Academy, as I told you, to link diasporans to Africa and Africans to diasporans. And the goal is to teach Africans and diasporans with the adequate skill sets to be more competitive in the job market.
Yeah.
And so we're teaching how to deploy smart contract code. We're teaching how to invest in crypto projects, how to, you know, stake, how to mine, how to yield farm, all these different nuances in crypto, and how to get into pre-seed and seed round investments, and etc. So
sorry to interrupt, I just thought of something really interesting. Back in the previous bull market, I remember a success story of, I'm not sure if it was a Nigerian guy or someone else from Africa, but people were in Africa were farming hard in crypto. And the funny thing, or I guess it's not that funny, but not too much money for some of these people are a lot. And I remember this game Axie Infinity, some players were playing all day and were making like more than their whole family combined playing Axie Infinity. And another funny thing is that I remember when US citizens were giving a good work for a good buck for your money, or what was the term I called, then the Chinese people became really competitive and lowered the prices, and now it's going to Africa. Like now I know for a fact, I can't give any example, but I know that Chinese companies are outsourcing in Africa.
Yes.
And it's really obvious that Africa has a future if everything comes and aligns for them, and I really hope it does, because they suffered enough.
Yeah.
And I am also kind of proud of my country that we didn't colonize anybody.
Yeah.
And I can speak my mind without offending anyone.
Absolutely, man. You know, and this is why, again, why I relate a lot to just Eastern Europe in general. Like, actually, my best friend's Croatian. And I know about the Yugoslavian War, and again, the Ottoman Empire and everything. And I just seen you guys have suffered a lot too. It's not to the same extent as Africa, but it's more relatable for me. And I guess it's probably the reason why I feel so welcome here. Bro, people told me it's racist here. Like, sometimes, like, I eat for free. Like, people, like, are super welcoming. They're very, very hospitable. They're always smiling. I just never had any issues here, man. I can't believe that people say that Bulgarians were bad people and mafia and criminals and all stuff. It's complete BS, man.
It's probably it's probably gonna be different if you look back in 20 years from now. But the internet changed everything. And, I think I was honestly interested to hear what are your thoughts on the crypto markets in the near future.
Yeah, for me, this is how I see it. I think the game theory has already started if you look at what's happened with El Salvador, right? So despite what the IMF, you know, says, Bitcoin is currency. I don't want to say crypto is currency, but Bitcoin is currency, in my opinion, because people are using it to trade, right? And anything that's used as a medium of exchange is then currency. And they're using it now, and they're making a lot of moves, right? So they're making a huge amount of reserves in Bitcoin. And I think because before, the global bond market wasn't as competitive. US had majority of the bond market.
Yeah.
Now, instead of if Kenya, for instance, wanted to issue out bonds, it would be very hard for them to do so in the Kenyan shilling, because like why would you want to have that shit coin, right? And now, because of Bitcoin, like El Salvador is doing smartly, is you could hedge yourself by getting a whole bunch of Bitcoin and issuing out Bitcoin-backed bonds, which would be more respected. You know, so this is another macro angle that you can take to look at how Bitcoin can be leveraged on a macro scale. So I see these currencies continue to debase, and I see people continue to look for safe havens or currencies that there's no capital controls. If you look at the combination of capital controls plus the combination of debasement that's happening globally, I see people continuing to run to crypto as that safe haven. The issue that I do have, though, is the ETFs, right? That's one aspect in which they can potentially use and leverage to control people. Because if you look at the ETFs and you see basically how the mechanism in which how you buy and how you own them, right? So
yeah.
So people don't, for those watching, you don't own the actual Bitcoin, you buy the ETF. What ends up happening is you give your fiat to, let's say, BlackRock. BlackRock takes that fiat to then Coinbase, who's their actual custodian, and then Coinbase then buys the Bitcoin and then custodies that on chain for you, right? So so in the case of any kind of financial turmoil, you would have to go then to BlackRock to then tell Coinbase to then give you your Bitcoin, which would never happen.
Yeah. What is kind of silly to me is that most of the Bitcoin the ETFs bought were from OTC deals that never moved the markets. It just made it more illiquid, and that's what made it volatile, pretty much. But what is your favorite project, and first of all, let's begin from a different angle. What does your day-to-day life looks like, and how do you invest and operate and work and all this?
Yeah, man, my day-to-day life, it depends, but I'll tell you a normal day. It's usually me getting up, eating breakfast, meetings, podcast meetings. And then the day closes, and in between I'm texting my team, I'm texting so many people all throughout the day, like in between that. And that's usually how my days function, is basically talking to people literally all day, because of how I have the mechanisms and vehicles in place. And like, for instance, now like this Web3 Academy that I'm building, it's just me communicating back and forth with the co-founder and saying, okay, how many signups do we have? How can we push more marketing? Okay, these are the angles we need to take. Okay, this is how we plan to implement it. And then also now, like, I'm building the actual courses too as well for my portion of it. Then we have an Ethereum Foundation developer that's going to be building out his portion for the smart contract and deployment. And then for the Moonboy aspect, is meetings with clients, talking with clients directly. And that's basically how my days work, every single day, like Monday to Monday. And it's fun, man. Honestly, like this is the most fun I've had ever in my entire life. And I'm so happy that I took the path that I did, because, you know, it was hard when I started Moonboy in the beginning. It was a bit hard because I actually started initially with telling people how much money I was making in the crypto market. And then I was excited about it. This is back in 2021. And then people were like, yo, I want to make money too. So I started helping other people, and I was helping them for free. And then I was like, hey, look, guys, it's getting overwhelming. I had to start charging. So they were like, okay, cool, because how much I was charging them was less than the amount that they were making. So they were like, fine. So then they started telling more people. And then,
weren't you afraid of this? Because I had the same thing in the previous bull market, where a lot of people wanted to give me money, and immediately in my head I was imagining someday some guy kicking down my door with a gun, asking for his money, and I'm like, no thanks. No. To that.
For me, man, I'm at the end of the day, if your genuine direction as a human is to help people, and that's my genuine intention, is to help people as much as possible, then I have no fear, you know, in my heart. I'm going to do what I think is necessary. Like now, like when I'm building this Web3 Academy, I truly have a passion for helping people to elevate and get better. So if you have financial goals, if you have anything that you need, then why, and I know that I can help. Why would I not help? Why would I be scared of potential consequences or something when I know all I tried to do was help? And we've helped a lot of people, and we're continuing to help people, especially this. Again, I keep pointing towards this Web3 Academy that we're building, because we plan to build the biggest Web3 Academy in Africa, and no one is doing this currently right now. No one's really trying to give people the skill sets, not just these pump and dump scams and all this stuff. I'm trying to give people actual skill sets, because the fiat, we don't know, it's uncertain, but skills, you can always take that with you.
Yeah.
You know, fiat, it can go to zero tomorrow, you know, but as long as you have skills, you can, it's a hedge, you know, against the uncertainty of the future.
That's exactly my strategy and what I'm trying to tell to the audience, because many of them come when the market is euphoric, and they are looking for the next big opportunity, and when the market is bad, they either disappear or become trolls.
Yeah.
And I saw this the last bull market and the last bear market, and it really almost made me quit, if I have to be honest, but I didn't, and I met so many people that are like-minded, and we have built this amazing community where we are not only learning together, but we are building so many things right now under you know, our name, and it's honestly the best I ever felt, and this is mostly what I'm grateful for crypto, you know, that it came to my life, and you know, crypto saved my life. I have to be honest.
Same, man. Yeah, you know, it's amazing, man, to just connect with you and other like-minded people like you, because people see crypto as something that's super bad, and I'm like, crypto allows us to buy, like, for instance, if you have employees, and like, for instance, when I have employees, they may be from the Philippines or from Africa, and it's hard to pay them, you know, because of the intricacies of how the financial system works, and people don't understand that. So I can just send them, you know, like a stable coin or something easy for them to just liquidate and feed their family, you know? And it's a lifeline for some of these people, and to try to take it away from people who are already at the breaking points, quite frankly, you know, it's
actually
messed up.
Just the other day I saw that Nigeria is in top 5 countries that adopted crypto the most.
Yeah.
And I know it's partly because of their fiat currency, but the other part was that it's hard with banking and everything, and people are more likely to accept crypto from another person, and like, okay, here, I'll give you that, send me the crypto and whatnot. So it's amazing to see that it's happening worldwide already. And I was really wondering if you have, because I don't want to make this episode too long. I think it's really interesting, and I think we can talk for like 10 hours. I can make a whole season out of talking with each other. But I was wondering, what's probably your go-to advice for this bull market, and what are you expecting specifically?
I would say it depends on where you're at. If you already positioned, if you were listening to the Mooncast, you know, at 17K, 18K, 19K, I was telling people to get in, you know, because that was the perfect time. But it's still a good time. It depends on what your goals are. But let's say for the people who are already in, just don't F this up, man. Just all you got to do is just hold what you got, wait until the next pump, and then you can do whatever you want with your profits, you know, whether that's if you want to hold into the next bear, if you want to take some off the table, if you want to liquidate everything, but don't do anything. Your job is done if you've already buying last year. If you weren't buying last year, you still have some time, because if the market's, like, I kind of saw that the market was going to trade sideways for a while for the next 4 to 6 weeks or 4 to 6 months. And I think the next run up is going to be a little bit later than people expect, which is actually good, because it actually increases the duration of the bull run, because we were expecting a little bit of a shortening cycle at the beginning, because you know, it was getting a little bit too overheated. So I would say if you're not in, get in, you know, and I would say depending on your capital allocation, let's say if you had like 10K to spend, you definitely want to put half of that into Bitcoin. You know, again, none of this financial advice is just an idea of how you should look at it. The reason is because the probability is quite high Bitcoin's going to double from here. It's quite high. I'm not saying it won't, but you'll be able to at least be able to get your initial back by just putting half of that into Bitcoin. Then if you want to play around with altcoins, you can do that strategically, and you can follow the advice of experts, you know, who actually understand and how to navigate through this space, understand the narratives. So there's so many different narratives in crypto, and you can't pick all of them. Don't try to be like in chasing every single pump, and you're not going to catch every pump. You're not going to catch every narrative. Pick about 2 to 3 narratives and run with those, whether it's DeFi, RWA, the Bitcoin layer 2 narrative, the DPIN narrative. There's so many AI narrative. There's so many. So pick a few of those and place your bets there, and then just wait and just don't do anything and just wait. And then the pump will come. The liquidity cycle will change because the banks are getting squeezed. The businesses are getting squeezed. The economy is getting squeezed. So they are going to have a liquidity injection at some point. And all you have to do is just wait it out. And that's pretty much what I would say to anybody that's watching this that maybe is on either one cusp where they didn't buy any crypto and they're trying to get in, or someone that bought last year or the year before. So
yeah, well, that was more than asked for even.
yeah.
Amazing advice. Do you have any general advice for our audience? Life advice?
Life advice, man. If you're young, man, you're listening to this, stay away from women, man. Work on yourself. You know, like this is, just work on yourself, focus on you, and women will come. And just focus on personal development and building skills and trying to make the society and the world a better place.
You can plug yourself right now.
Yeah, you know, moonboycapitalventures.com is my website, and Moonboy Capital Ventures is my YouTube channel. You can check that out too as well, where I post my weekly podcast called The Mooncast. So you can check that out on Spotify and all the requisite platforms. You can check streaming platforms. So, and also on LinkedIn too as well, Vandross Idiake. That's where I'm most active. The reason I like LinkedIn is because it's real people and not, you know, random bots with Pikachu JPEGs as their profile pic.
Yeah.
So you can catch me on LinkedIn too as well, Vandross Idiake. And yeah, that's pretty much it, man.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. Well, make sure to do that, and catch you guys in the next episode.
Peace.